JM, awesome to see you again. Welcome to the Happy Engineer podcast, brother.
And I'm fired up to be here. For those of you that don't know, Zach was on my show and absolutely crushed it. Actually, the most interesting engineer I think I've ever met. So,
Oh man, JM, I'm honored to take the most interesting engineer you've met slot. That's a big deal. Most engineers can qualify as fairly interesting. Maybe that's not always a positive connotation, but I'll take it. And yeah, shameless plug for JM's podcast for the Happy Engineer out there. Let's go win. Of course, selfishly, I'd love for you to listen to the episode I'm on, but you will not go wrong anywhere in James' podcast. It's tremendous. So really honored to have you here with the happy engineers out there. JM, you sent me, and I loved reading your book, also titled Let's Go In. Everybody go into the show notes. There'll be a link to get your copy there. Definitely grab one. But what I actually wanted to open with is what you opened with in the book that I thought was really interesting. And it's a little section in your introduction here that says timing is everything. And it's not a topic that has come up on this podcast very many times where we really talk about timing. Lots of strategy, lots of leadership tips, lots of work-life balance conversations, all these things that are important. But timing is something that I can't remember coming up from a guest on the show. So can you unpack a little bit? What did you mean there, and how do you think about this idea that timing is everything?
yeah, man, it's such a fascinating idea because if you think about how much people plan to do X, and I want to start a new business. Okay, cool. Is it the right time? And what I mean by that, is there ever the right time to start your business? Well, yes, there is. And there is also not waiting on the sidelines. So it's one of those things that we have a precious amount of time. I don't want to waste any of it. I want to utilize all of the time that I have. And so frequently, I'll ask people, well, is this the right time for you? And what I mean by that is this what you really want in your life? Because often I'm looking at the Joneses, I'm looking at my neighbors, and it's like, oh, he just got a new boat. I want a new boat. Well, dude, you got a 2-year-old, a 6-month-old, and a new business. Is getting a boat really the right time? Probably not, because now you're not going to use it. Now it's just more responsibilities. And now it's become something that would be amazing to the bane of your existence because now you're just shelling out money. And that's a small example. It's a boat. And I know you're big into questions, as am I. Asking a couple questions before we just act, I think is really important. Like, timing is everything. Cool. Is it the right time for me to start the business? Well, I've been waiting for 6 years. That answer is probably yes. I just thought of this harebrained idea last night. I want to start this new business. Maybe we should slow down just for a moment, figure out if this works into our life, yes or no. And so that's really what I mean by that, brother.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where just slow down a little bit and let's make sure. And if you've been on the sideline too long, let's act.
JM, do you see in your clients and the work that you've done, maybe your own personal experience, where right idea, wrong time leads to what we might call failure or a setback? Is it 100% of the time, or do you see people crawl out of that? It can still work. Like, right idea, wrong time. If that's the path somebody takes, what kinds of outcomes can we expect?
Well, I hope you have some real grit, because often these amazing ideas at the wrong time, you are going to get your ass kicked again and again and again. And it's like watching a Rocky movie. You're just getting beat and beat and beat and beat. Yeah. Are you going to get back up? And that's the challenge. Now, if you do persevere through all of those challenges, which, by the way, you're going to get knocked down, so we're clear. But when it's the right idea at the wrong time, often that's where I'll see people just give up when they're, 3 feet from gold is talked about. And it sure makes it a bigger struggle. And recent examples is, as we watch this innovation craziness happens, it's like, look, if you just wait just a little bit till this innovation stacks with this one, now you can really flourish. Or you could have been too early to market and you get crushed. it's an interesting one, man, because I want people to act. That's a big part of my coaching. But at the same time, just know that you do, again, step back for a moment.
In your own journey, JM, how have you been with timing? Did you learn this lesson the hard way, where like I'm speaking from the heart here, wrong timing, or do you crush it in this area? Like, what's your personal experience been?
Oh man, if there's a mistake when it comes to timing, I have nailed it. I have bought so much real estate that has lost so much money. And if you think of this timeline from like, let's take it from 2010, 11 to 2023. How is that possible, brother, that you lose money in that time? It's like you have
Oh
to
man.
really try hard, but there are certain investments that weren't ideal. And so just throwing money at everything wasn't necessarily a good strategy, although some people did and they worked out okay. But it's that would be an example where I'll give you another example. I started a mortgage company in 2008, literally bought a building.
Oh wow.
Go well, brother. That did not go well. And we generated 700 loans in the first 90 days
Oh
and
wow.
12.
Okay, so firsthand experience with good ideas at the wrong time. And of course the engineer in me, JM, immediately wants to know then, how do we take our life experience up to this point and actually get good at knowing when it is the right time? So I'm senior manager at a automotive OEM, and I've got an ambition to go out and start my own thing, or I want to go be a director at some other company. Should I move to a new state and take on the risk of a new opportunity? Like, we've all got these things brewing, and now we're all asking, is now the right time? JM's got me worried about going too soon or doing it. So how do we get better at knowing now's the right time?
It's a really good question. And actually, there's a great book that just came out not too long ago. It's called Who Not How. And the reason I talk about that, I think we need to continue to find the who's. So for instance, if I had spent more time before opening that mortgage company and really reached out to those in the know, they would have said, pump the brakes for a second. You are sitting on a pile of gold that you are absolutely going to smelt down to nothing if you open this. And so the more that you can reach out to someone that has knowledge in whatever endeavor you're going for, people that you can trust that aren't holding you back because of insecurities and fear, but rather are holding you back to say, have you thought of X? What about Y? We have so much amazing people in our lives and surrounding us if we choose to open it. And that's one of the challenges when you have a lot of confidence, is when you're crushing it in your business, you're like, I'm indestructible, bro. You
Yeah.
beat me. Well, sometimes you can. And sometimes having that outside perspective is really key. Just like you and I were talking off air. You're like, dude, this one thing happened. It's really exciting. That's a great who that could really maybe expand your business. What a great tool to have at your disposal.
This is a really important shift in the way to approach the question. I just want to mirror it back, Jim, because I love what you did there. My engineering brain, even to this day, as a coach who's done this for years, wants to ask that how question. How do I improve at my timing in this instance? But it comes up in every situation. That how question is that default setting for technical leaders. Is the way we're wired. And to say, look, instead of asking, how can you get better at great timing? First question, who can help you assess if now is a great time? Go tap the network, find the mentor, find the coach, find the person who's like JM, done it 100 times, some right, some wrong, has the lessons. Start with that who. That's a really important shift in perspective on approaching the timing question. And I think for engineers, we like to sit on the sidelines more than we do act too fast. If I'm painting with a broad brush, JM, we're sideline sitters. We've got the great ideas. We've got a lot of fear, though, that keeps us out of the game. I think that's another place where the who can kick you off the sideline. Somebody can say, look, you've got everything you need to get started. Why have you not already begun? And when you keep asking how, you can come up with 10 more reasons why now is not the right time. And so I think that's really important. Speaking of perspective, JM, you teased me with that word before we hit record today. And I am a huge fan of that word. And you, as a mindset coach and a speaker and an author, you've done so much work in this space. Share with me, where is the idea of perspective brewing, and how's that impacting your life right now?
So I lost my dad in March. I say that to say the greatest amount of perspective I've probably ever had in my life happened in March. And I value my time on earth more today than I did March 5th. So he passed away on the 6th. And as much as I want him back in my life and I miss him and all the things I could say, he gave me a level of perspective that I you can't buy. And I want to operate the way I do today for the remainder of my life with this level of perspective, that when I get to see my kids tonight, no matter how tired I am from whatever the day looked like, that I'm going to give everything to that moment with them. That when I see my wife tonight, that I am going to hug her and kiss her the way that if she was gone tomorrow, that I made sure I felt. It's this perspective piece. It's a part of humanity that I wish I could change. I don't want something tragic to happen for us to realize how amazing our life is. And yet time and time and time again, as human beings, we fall into this laissez-faire attitude of, we have all this time in the world. Which is funny. We're just talking about timing is everything.
Yeah.
But it's this level of perspective when you think about things differently and you say, what if this is the last day I had on earth? Okay. I probably would still be doing this show because I love podcasting. And then I'm going to go have the most amazing meal with the people that I love. And then I'm going to spend time in community with them. Okay, but I didn't die tomorrow. So why do I roll the dice every day and show up half-assed with my cell phone while my kids are there and I'm juggling three things at the same time? It's so asinine when you say it aloud that you're like, dude, wake up, be in the now, right now, be present and give everything you have to this moment, because this is the only time I'm guaranteed right now.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean by perspective, man. It hit me so heavy in this meditation this morning that I was like, damn, I got to speak more on this. And so when you said, what's on your heart, that's what's sitting there, brother, is this perspective idea.
I really appreciate just, pause and acknowledge the loss of your dad. It's so hard, and there's no words for that. Would you be willing to take us back to that time frame? And you mentioned the kind of before and the shift, the perspective that loss and the grief and the change in your world. How would you describe what actually changed in your own perspective as best you can put words to it?
Sure. So I talked to my dad the day he passed. And I told him I loved him, but was I over the top? No, I was running around at a tennis tournament and we had a very passing average conversation. Now, of course I didn't know this was going to happen, but it did. And so I did. I said, I love you, Dad. But it wasn't like, I want you to know how much I love you. I want you to know. And I'm sure he did. But I was going through every day and I was talking to my dad and he was I think he was in Arizona at the time, and then I go about my day and my son and I have a pretty average meal. He had performed and we talked about that. Just a very average day. And then I get the phone call at 11:30 that night and my whole world just gets turned upside down.
Yeah.
Of course, about a week of serious reflection and darkness and all the things that you go through when you lose someone that close to you. And then I started getting this overwhelming sense of joy towards life that, you know what, I'm here today. And I had 71 years with this, or he was on this earth 71 years, and I had 44 of them with him. I should actually focus on that rather what I lost. Then it allowed me to bring that into my relationships. Shortly thereafter, I had a business partner stealing several $1 million over the course of years, I found out. And I think I would have been really pissed in the past. And I was just like, yeah, that sucks. What am I going to do on it? I'm going to whine about it? No, it sucks. Move on. And of course, moved on, got bought out of the company, lost a couple $1,000,000, but I can still go make it. My dad can't. I can. I have that ability.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It just shifted everything to where these little things that happen to us. Oh, I stubbed my toe. I had a flat tire. My dog died. It sucks, man. Guess what? You're alive today to feel that pain. You should be grateful for it.
I'm really connecting with what you described about the initial experience being a period of real darkness. You know, like, oh gosh, you're sitting there, you're thinking maybe the mind is running into some regrets about not saying what I wanted to say with the passion I wanted to say it. And we're in that place. But then the loss and the grief shifted to joy for you, this awareness that, you know what, I have a choice here to show up differently. I'm curious for you, if somebody feels stuck in the dark place, they've had a loss, maybe they got fired or let go from their job and they're sitting there regretting that they didn't work harder or say the thing that needed to be said or whatever, or maybe it's similar to you, loss in the family or a relationship ended, but they feel caught in the dark place. There hasn't been a shift to seeing it for an opportunity to shift their perspective and a new lease on life the way that you did. Is there anything that you would say as either a coach or just from your own experience, what's that catalyst moment, or how do we get there to where the shift actually happens? Because I do think the grief and the loss is normal and healthy and good. It's like, okay to be in that dark place. We don't need to shame that at all, but we do want to come out of it. So what's happening right there at that moment?
I talk about being a victim or taking full responsibility. And I agree with you, by the way. I don't mean to poo-poo on grief. Like be in that moment so that you can move forward.
Yeah.
But once you're ready to move forward and realize that this didn't happen to you, it happened for you. And that's not the first time you've heard that, and it certainly won't be the last. But whatever happens, it happens for you, just the way the universe works. We're energetic beings, and realize whatever gift this darkness has brought. Now, I talk about embracing the suck, right? But I'm talking about when you're building a company, when you're weightlifting, when you're whatever you're going through that really sucks, just embrace it, because you know what? You get that opportunity. There are people that would kill to have that opportunity. They can't come back on this earth to enjoy that pain. But I think once you choose responsibility, like, okay, that sucks. What am I going to do? What's the gift here? How is the way I'm showing up today serving my life? Let's just say I lost my wife of 30 years, let's say. That sucks. That's a big grieving moment.
No doubt.
If I'm sitting there binging on Netflix, drinking too much, and, I'm not seeing sunlight, how's that serving me? How is that making my life better? It's not. So let's not be a victim anymore. Let's take responsibility for our life and let's go live.
Yeah.
Because the one thing, again, this word keeps coming up, time is not guaranteed, and it's short if you think about how long we're on this planet. And there's a whole lot of cool stuff to see and do. So let's not loathe and whine and pine. Let's go seek the next thing that might be or could be even better than that 30-year marriage. Maybe that happened for you because your true soulmate, you never got a chance to connect with. These are the things that you can ask yourself. And it's like, every time something really bad happens, guess what? Something great is about to. Yes. So every time something terrible happens, I'm like, all right, man, this sucks. Can't wait to see what the greatness is.
I love that. Where is my upgrade coming as a result of this loss is something I say to myself. And JM, it's in your book as well. I love what you said, and I'm just going to highlight it because I need to hear it again and again. And sometimes you don't realize how jaded you get about information that's gold that you've seen before, or you think you already know it. And I remember in your book you described like basically asking the reader, say, hey, I want you to be willing to relearn what you've already learned and to give yourself some freedom from the ego of, I know this already, I've heard this already. And for me, your book is just simple, solid, golden nugget, one after another. But as a coach, yeah, I've heard it before. the majority of that, not through your voice, your lens. But it was easy for me to shut that off and just say, oh, okay, it's another one of those. But the truth is, when I come into it with that open mind, that willingness to relearn, it's like, holy cow, this is a life-changing book. And that statement, life happens for you, not to you. Yeah, it's been said 1,000 times, but we have a choice right now to receive it as a fresh word, that what I need today is to remember that. But sometimes you just are like, oh, okay, duh, I've heard it. Or even worse, sometimes like, forget that. I've heard it and that's not true for me right now, or I don't want to hear it. So that's really, really powerful. The show up idea, you said it in that response to taking responsibility, not being a victim, is how I'm showing up serving me. And part of your genius and your magic as a mindset coach and a business coach is in this idea of showing up as you. So JM, would you walk us through what is that concept and how do we take what life's given us and then come into the arena and show up as you? What does that mean?
Yeah, man, this is a huge idea, and yet it's the most simple idea there is, in my opinion. At least I'm a simple guy. I like to keep things simple. I'm 6'5". Okay. God made me that way. It doesn't mean it's good. Doesn't mean it's bad. It takes me zero time, zero energy. My back's in complete alignment at 6'5". I could try to be 5'5", and it's going to take a hell of a lot of time, a hell of a lot of energy, and my back's completely out of alignment. It's uncomfortable. Why not just be 6'5"? And the point of just showing up as you is that authentic self is really attractive to the right people. Trying to be anything that you're not, trying to fit in, which starts real early, man. We put on masks, try and fit in.
So
it's
true.
all horse shit, man. Your authentic self is attractive. It's beautiful. It's what people they want to be surrounded with. You as a shell of yourself, trying to act a certain way, it's not attractive. And I speak from experience because my first company and a half, I thought I had to wear a suit, tie, be buttoned up, sound a certain way. And man, we were growing 15% a year. I'm making tons of money. My health was all screwed up. My relationship to my wife sucked, man. We were separated for a year. I almost lost my kids in that whole process, all because I'm trying to be something I'm not. What a waste of time and what a waste of energy. Once I realized what was happening and I go through the development work and I do all the things that I needed to do, I realized, wait a minute, I'm a jeans and t-shirt kind of guy. And by the way, I don't care what wardrobe you use. It's just whatever you're comfortable in.
Yeah.
I'm a jeans and t-shirt guy. I'm going to show up as me and wow, my relationships are fulfilled. I'm way healthier. And here's what's crazy. My business was up 22%. So 7% more than when I was acting as some other person. And it's like, hey, dummy, it's not that hard. Just be you. My wife always says, stop assuming people know that, because we've been conditioned to want to fit in, to want to be a part of something, to want to be accepted. And so we start to act that way instead of just being us. And so that's the whole idea, is just show up as you, is whatever you are, whoever you are. It's amazing, man. Let it out. And the right human beings that you need and want into your life, they'll be there. And the wrong one won't. And that's cool. That's beautiful.
The simplicity, to your point, is almost so simple that the engineer in me wants to reject it. It's like, it can't be that easy, JM. It can't be that easy. But what I've found is, the jeans and t-shirt example, it's a picture of what's actually happening on the inside. It's not about the jeans and the t-shirt. It has nothing to do with the wardrobe at all. It's the version of you that actually showed up at work wearing the jeans and t-shirt, and how you were leading, the energy of that and all of what it comes with that makes the difference. So take somebody who's in the engineering world right now. Let's say they're a VP of engineering or they're director of engineering somewhere, and they might respond to what you just said by saying, yeah, but JM, at my company, you can't wear jeans and t-shirts. I'm not the CEO. It's not my company. I can't do that. So even if I am a jeans and t-shirt guy, this culture or this environment that I'm in doesn't allow me to do that. What would you say to somebody who sort of feels trapped in their environment, not allowing them to express themselves fully in some of those ways.
This answer scares people. I would ask the first question is, are you in the right place? And what I mean by that is, if you're truly uncomfortable to where you can't be yourself, or let's say as a leader, you don't feel like I can truly show my emotions, I can truly connect with another human being, you might be in the wrong place. Or you may be assuming that you can't show up as the best version of you because everyone else assumed this is a corporate culture. Well, here's the crazy part. And again, I'll go back to wardrobe for a second. That idea has been completely squashed. The biggest companies in the world, man, they're bringing dogs to work and they got ping pong tables.
That's right.
All sorts of crazy stuff. And they're running our entire economy of this world. So, it's just being you and being comfortable in your environment. And I get this often when I have people that have bad leadership. They're like, but this guy's such an asshole, JM. You don't get it. And I'm like, you're right. I don't understand this particular situation, but I've met an asshole or two. Perhaps this might not be the best place. Or have you actually said something about, oh, I can't do that? Have you tried? Well, no. Well, so you actually don't know what's going to happen. And what's fascinating about us, Zach, we spend so much energy thinking about what we think is going to happen, what people are thinking. By the way, I've never met somebody that's clairvoyant. You are wrong. And we spend so much time saying, oh, yeah, this is the way it is. How do you know? Have you ever once predicted what someone else was going to say to a T and you knew it? No. Okay, then stop assuming and be you. Yeah. And once you do that, it's like this wave of freedom overcomes you. This weight comes off your shoulders and you just walk a little taller. You're just a little happier. And it's like, oh my God, this is really easy just being me.
I love that example. And I agree, the engineering leaders that I coach, more often than not, there's a belief system of what you can and can't do in your current environment that is completely based on clairvoyance, not reality. What have you actually tried? What have you tested? What have you done? And I also tell people, look, if you're in a suit and tie culture and you really believe that jeans and t-shirt is the biggest thing that's preventing you from being yourself, let's get curious about where that came from. Is that really authentic or not? But also, let's just test little by little. What if you take the tie off one day and just see what happens? And then what if you do wear, some other kind of shirt or a different blazer? You'd wear the jeans one day and see what happens. Let's just test things. Let's experiment. Let's play. But I agree. There's so much we think is rigid that is not around us. The question for me then is, do I know myself? Do I know how to be me? I really love this concept. And Zach White, I'll just be totally candid with you, JM. I'm still in a journey as a podcaster and as a coach and as a CEO and learning, how do I want to be a CEO? And what is my podcast voice that's different than JM's podcast voice? I want to create the happy engineer, not let's go win. And so at times I find myself asking, well, who am I in this situation? Who am I in this situation? And sometimes it's easy to answer it. Other times it's not. So what coaching would you give me, I guess, if you're ever stuck in that place of, well, who am I? How do I show up as myself here? Where do you go?
The one thing I've realized in all my coaching is that people want to be happy, right? I don't know anybody that's like, dude, I want to have a really shitty day today. This is what I'm going to do. That's not the way it works, man. People want to be happy. I'm not saying everybody's happy, but they want to be.
Yeah.
So the simple concept, and I'll give you two examples, both with a thing and then with people. Perfect. Does this thing make you happy? Well, no, JM, it actually sucks. Stop doing it. Just stop doing it. Like, if it really sucks and you don't just stop, because long term, it's not going to work anyway. It's going to end in a divorce. It'll break. It'll be something. The funny thing with the people concept is I believe people either lift you up or they bring you down. I don't think there's a middle road, brother. I've not really seen it. And so it's this idea of, oh, I'm best friends with them because I've known them for 30 years. Awesome. How does he or she make you feel? Really bad. Every time we talk, I feel horrible about myself. Maybe we should stop talking to them. That doesn't mean you're still not friends, but perhaps a new boundary should be set that, why subject yourself to this? And so it's really just stopping and saying, who is my authentic self? My authentic self wants to be happy. So what actually makes me happy? Now, of course, you have to have like, don't stop working out because it's a little hard. Because the other thing that happens is you're also happy that you did it because of the positive endorphins firing off.
Yeah.
But it is a simple idea to just reflect and say, how does that make me feel? It makes me feel really good. Cool. Keep doing that. Makes me feel really bad. Cool. Stop doing that. And then you truly find what your authentic self is. And then you let that fly. And it is funny, Zach, because we've all lost ourselves at some point, right? That's another commonality amongst human beings. Not everybody's self-assured and like, this is where I'm going. I know exactly who I am. No, man, we're ever evolving. So that's why checking in frequently is so important. How did this make me feel? Good. Guess what? I could have loved to ski forever, but now I don't like it one day. That's okay. Don't just keep doing it because that was a habit. Maybe you should stop skiing because it no longer serves you. That's okay.
I'll take it one step deeper, JM, and you tell me if this resonates for you. But what I have found when I share a message like this, especially with an engineering audience who are very logical, very analytical, and as soon as I start engaging in the question of how does that make you feel, there's some resistance to it. A, because we lack emotional intelligence, period. We don't really know how to answer that question. But B, there's a fear about, well, I don't want to become an irrational, chasing my feelings kind of person doing things that are not smart, not intelligent, or not wise. I hear things like that. What I've seen is really going on there is we're looking at emotion or the question of does it make me feel good or feel happy at a very surface level with short-term first-order consequences. Does the ice cream make me happy? Yes or no? Well, it tastes good and I like it. It makes me happy. So Zach, are you saying, JM, are you saying I should just eat ice cream all day, every day? Is that what you're telling me? What a stupid podcast. I'm never listening to this again. It's like, no, JM is not saying that. Because there's a level of, back to perspective. You brought this word, it's like perfect word, right? Timing, perspective, these themes, man, they keep coming up. Do you feel happy when you're 50 pounds overweight and have no energy? No, that doesn't make me feel happy. Well, do you feel happy when you wake up thriving with energy and vitality and a six-pack abs and you love what you see in the mirror and you can impact the world around you in a positive way? Yeah, that makes me feel really happy. Okay, well then, we need to consider that whole perspective, the second order consequences, the network consequences of that when you think about happiness. And I feel like sometimes that's what's missing in the dialogue is people out of just a limited view or frustration. They're like, oh, don't tell me to do what makes me feel good, JM. That's stupid, right? That's too childish. But it's like, no, in the end, that is exactly what you're all doing, whether you think you are or not. Your subconscious mind is in the pursuit of that pleasure. But we fail to consider the whole picture. I don't know. Does that seem true or resonate for you?
Oh, brother, you absolutely. It's a concise and really important thing to put out there. It's absolutely true. The way you tied in the ice cream to, am I happy being 50 pounds overweight? Yeah, these are the trade-offs, right? Apply some logic, which engineers, I know they have logic.
We're good at that. We're good at that.
But the other thing you said, which is funny or interesting, because it is true. This idea that I'm analytical or getting into the feelings, whoa, that's uncomfortable. Every human being is made of energy, right? It's just a fact. It's not woo-woo. This is science now. Emotions and energy, if you want to move mountains, you're going to do it through emotions. You're not going to do it through facts. And that's what's so fascinating about this is there are certain times that we're willing to express it and it feels good. But then, wait a minute, I'm going to go back into my suit and I'm going to make sure I'm not putting myself out there. And one of the biggest things I'll coach people on, and this is such a simple idea, but when you hug someone, how do you hug them? Do you hug them unreservedly like a 5-year-old does? Because that's a hug that transfers energy and emotion, and it feels amazing because that 5-year-old is not giving you some weird side hug. They're like giving it to you. And yet somewhere along the way, Zach, we decided that, oh, I can't do that. Now, don't become an HR nightmare. I'm not telling you to hugging everybody in a weird way. But at the same time, if that relationship exists, give that full hug, man. It feels good to the other human being and to you. And that's the funny thing about, letting that emotion out a little bit. Never once have I seen a bad thing come from that. Let it out. It's a good thing. Taking these emotions and stuffing them deep down and then having some volcanic burst of
Yes.
madness, that's not good. That's really bad. And so it is an interesting concept. And I do talk, my clients aren't obviously as focused that way, but I do have several that very much an introvert and I'm very analytical. Right. I don't want to show my feelings. I'm like, all right, cool. So that's the story you've been telling yourself. Is it true? How's that serving you? Actually, my relationship with my wife sucks because I'm cold. Cool. So it's not serving you very much. Maybe we can look at it.
If you want to move mountains, that happens through emotion, not through facts. I think that is like really important for every engineering leader for us to get our head wrapped around, because we want to solve every problem through the data. That's good engineering. But at the end of the day, the data, whether it moves people to a decision, if it moves them to action, if it moves them, it's the emotion that's evoked that it creates those things. And I think that's really, really powerful to remember. And if we fear that emotional side, we won't have the power, the energy, to your point, to actually move mountains. And the one thing that every introverted leader I've ever coached has in common, JM, is they still want to make an impact. They still want to make a difference. You can have all the facts in the world, but if there's no emotion with it, then you're going to be very limited in the impact you can make. I wish we had another hour. We got to keep digging in, but JM, we're getting close. I want to be respectful of time and land the plane here. So this idea of showing up as you, can you just help us understand, how do we assess if we're doing it or not doing it? If this is a key to experiencing the happiness and the quality of life that we want and to get the results that we want, what's the way? You talked about reflection, but like, how do I know, JM, really, like, am I doing this or am I lying to myself? It's really not happening.
I ask myself two questions every single day because I believe we're in full control of two things: our attitude and our activity. I rate myself with 1 to 5. You can do it 1 to 10 or whatever scale you want to use, but pick. And I ask myself, all right, I'm in full control of my attitude. How was it? 5 if it was good, and 2 if it was terrible. And then same on activity. And the last question I ask is, how's yours today? And that's just a simple, how was it? And what I've found is when I go back and I look at the pages, man, there's a lot of momentum built when it's 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Really good things are happening to my life. Oh man, I'm so lucky. Well, I'm not lucky. It's because I worked hard and I was happy. It's really not complex. The harder I work, the luckier I get. I think one of the presidents said that. It's so true. And so that's the question that I look at, brother, is just, how did I do today? Did I have a good attitude? Did I have good activity? Cool. And that's my easy reflection.
It's powerful. Teases my engineering brain perfectly. Just give myself a simple reflection with a metric, 1 to 5. How was my attitude? Be honest. Don't fall into condemnation and self-judgment if it's a 1. If it's a 1, fine. It was a 1. Be honest. It's a 1. Well, how am I going to get to at least a 2 tomorrow, or a 3 or a 4? What's it going to take to get back to 5? JM, I know everybody's going to want to connect with you. We talked about your podcast and your book, but where's the best place people can go? How can they get more JM in their life?
Yeah, if it's not the podcast, I would say let's go Win 365 on any social media platform. Believe it or not, you do get me responding to you. And I love when people actually interact. So if you're like, dude, you're awesome. Love it. Dude, you suck. Cool. I'm actually good with all of it. The feedback, if I suck, tell me why, because I like to hear that. I want to get better, right? Just like you said, as we're going through this crazy life, like, we want to get better. And that feedback is so, so key. So let's go Win 365.
Perfect. All of the links to the book, to the podcast, to connect with JM on social media will be there in the show notes. So click, grab, and I definitely, again, I want to acknowledge you, JM. Your work is fantastic. The podcast is fantastic. Your book, Let's Go Win. And I want to get the other one. I have a playbook concept in our coaching program at Owaco, and you've got your playbook book as well, which it looks awesome. So please, everybody, go check that out. And thanks for sharing your wisdom with us here today. And final question, JM, we've covered a lot of ground here, but we talk a lot at Owaco and here on the Happy Engineer podcast about engineering and coaching have in common that the questions lead and the answers follow. And we're all looking for better answers, more of the good life, more happiness, more winning in our experience of life. So what would be the best question you would lead the happy engineer out there with today?
Yeah, it's what story am I telling myself? And is it true? Sorry, that's two, but what story am I telling myself? And is it true? That would be it, brother. It's powerful because we all have some story that we say. And most of the time it's all BS. And so if it's not true, change it.
Amazing. JM, thanks again for being here. We'll do it again sometime.
Appreciate you, brother.